Hey everyone, it's Ryan from Rocky Mountain Cigar Show here, and tonight we actually have a special first time ever in guest studio. But before we get started, just want to give quick little shout outs to all of my show sponsors here. We have BAMF Cigars. Big shout out to BAMF Ish over at BAMF and ROCF Cigars, Christoph Cigars, New Air, humidors. Looking for a discount, click on my description and you will see a 15% off discount for both New Air humidors as well as BAMF and ROCF.com. Sagrado Cigars, who we have actually in studio for our first ever in studio guest. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. If you guys cannot, Bruce, you're always willing to tell me, can you hear me okay? Am I coming through good? Never did an in-show guest, so this is all new to us. But as we get started here, want to kind of go ahead and give John the floor, John Stewart from Sagrado, our guest, the floor to be able to give a little bit of a background on him and kind of how he came up with the cigars. So, John, the floor is yours.
Great. Sounds good.
I'm just going to be over here sharing the show, by the way.
Well, hey, good evening, everybody. It's an honor to be here tonight, talk about Sagrado Cigars and our brand and what we do. So, Sagrado is a Spanish word that means sacred. And so what our company is all about is about sacred moments, bring people together. Moments like this, and no history as far as how Ryan and I met, is enjoying cigars, enjoying a bottle of bourbon, and getting to know each other and becoming friends. And that's the whole premise of Sagrado. And I think anyone that's associated with cigars, you're used to sitting down and talking to people and making friends and learning about things and just having a good time. That's what life is about. Slow down a bit, consuming something that tastes delicious, and making a new friend. So our company is fairly new. We've been around. We have our 1 year anniversary box that our boxes arrive tomorrow, wish today, but weather and whatnot, they're arriving tomorrow from Dominican Republic. So we'll have those available. So I partnered with a person in Dominican Republic, Ariel Ochoa, and Ariel is my partner there and produces amazing cigars with us. He a master cigar roller from Cuba and has been in Dominican Republic now for 3 years. A lot of people are expats from Cuba over in Dominican Republic and Nicaragua these days. A lot of these big names as well. So Ariel, he knows how to blend things real well. We've been really working on some new blends, differentiating from the market. And we've made this new cigar, fun one called Feito. Feito is something different. It's an ugly little cigar. What I'm smoking now is a Sumatra wrapper. It's a new experimental for next year. And Ryan's given some input. I've had some other people give input. And it's a bit of a bigger cigar than what it was 6 months ago. But so cigars for me, I wasn't born and raised in it. I'm not a family generational tobacconist industry. I've smoked cigars off and on since I was in high school, of all things, and I've always enjoyed them. I would not call myself an expert in cigars, but absolutely a person who appreciates and loves the craft of cigars. I enjoy wine. I enjoy other crafts, spirits, and so on, which, again, very similar. Cigars are, again, handmade, quality. They're aged different. The leaves are different, produced in different countries. And it's amazing how they come together and make an amazing moment sharing time with somebody. So
John, you and I, when we originally met, let's just do a little background. So we originally met over the fact that you had saw me posting somewhere online. Now, by the way, for those of you that don't know, John is also a cigar Colorado brand, meaning he is home based here in the state of Colorado, and I do a cigar event called Rocky Mountain. Let's see if that'll post in. Rocky Mountain Cigar Night. And we had our first inaugural event in July, which we raised $8,000. And John was a huge part of that. So when you had reached out to me, how did you even find out about me, the posting? How did that even, because you've never even told me that.
No, well, I was looking again. I was looking at different folks within Facebook, within the industry, and so on, and trying to find people that really were a match for our brand. And it goes down to our supply chain, who we partner with, and it's really we're looking for people that are giving, people that again work with charities, people that take good care of their employees, people that take care of the community. And so we're really big about that. You talk about social responsibility, corporate responsibility. You hear the words fair trade. A lot of it is just, honestly, it's nonsense. It's not really, it's not really a big thing. But when people actually practice it, and outside of fair trade and whatnot, and really do the big things, that's what gets our attention. And our cigars are, for example, the production manager at our facility is a female, and you say, "Oh, is that a big deal?" Well, the Dominican Republic is a big deal in the industry. It's a big deal. You'll see rollers that are women, but you don't see managers that are women. And so
it's true.
Under Ariel, he promoted this lady over production. She's amazing. And that's Beatrice. Beatrice is phenomenal. Does a great job. Dedicated to quality. Again, our product is about quality. We focus initially on all quality cigars. And again, we're a new name, we're a non-brand. We should be getting a much higher dollar for our cigars, but we're trying to build our brand right now with a high quality cigar. Feito is the exception. That's a lower dollar one, but it's also amazing. Probably underpriced. It's a very good cigar. But we met just really because what I saw you doing was you had this event for the Ronald McDonald House for children. And we've been giving more money away than what we've been making, because we're just building out our company right now. But that's my heart. My whole heart for the company is about helping people. Education is huge to us. People that are disadvantaged because of inequality of whether race or gender or whatnot. That's big to us. We are giving to causes that are helping others. And so our goal for this company is as we are building it up and creating more and more profit and revenue, is to be able to continue to give more and more. The one thing I said when I started this business, the whole idea was, I want to make a lot of money. And the funny, I was thinking about George Costanza. If anybody's ever watched Seinfeld, he said, "I want to make a lot of money." And you think, "Oh, wow, he's George Costanza. He's he's a philanthropist. Wow." And so you hear him talking. He goes, "You know why I want to make a lot of money?" He says, "Because I want people only big time," which is not us at all. We don't want people always big time. We want to give money to people. We want to see it continue to pay it forward, where we give into people, we help people, and then they help people. And that's what we're looking at, is just trying to make the world a better place. And we're doing this by making friends, bring people together, selling great cigars. We started a coffee brand as well called Sagrado Coffee. Also freaking amazing. 2 plantations that we're sourcing from.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into a little bit more product with John than I normally necessarily get into. But a lot of that has to do with John's a newer brand, a newer company, but he's definitely a brand to be reckoned with. And, by the way, Tony, like I said, I actually think the first time that I remember John ever reaching out, Tony's the partner. First time I ever remember reaching out, is John actually instant messaged me off of Messenger and asked if we could meet for Rocky Mountain Cigar Night. And then we went and split a bottle of bourbon and had several cigars. And 6 hours later, I ended up leaving the first time we met. So it was honestly, it was such an incredible meeting experience. And John and I connected right then. Actually got pretty deep in discussion on things that I don't normally bring up on the first date, if you want to call it that, especially with another man like John. But look at him. How could you not open up to him? Look at that face. So we're going to get into a little bit more product than normal, because I want everybody to be able to understand the quality by which he actually produces his stuff. So, John, I'm going to give you the floor here. Tell everybody what we're smoking, and then we'll kind of dig into the fajitas. I'm terrible with pronouncing every fucking thing I try to. Okay. My audience knows that, and that's just the way it is. Yes, absolutely. Tony, John's coffee is absolutely amazing. And we're going to get into that too. We're also going to get into, yes, Bruce, he's the only guy I know that could pull off a hat like that and wear it all year long, no matter what else he's wearing or not wearing. And I'll let you guys have that imaginary thought. But anyways, so we'll get into a little bit of the product here. John's going to tell everybody what we're smoking, and he's going to also make sure that everybody watching knows how to actually order his cigars. And who knows, maybe he'll do some sort of a show offering of some kind, and that'll be completely up to him. So, John, what are we smoking tonight?
Oh, great. So this is an experimental one that we've been working on for the last 6 months. We like to take our time on new cigars. At this point in time, I've been working on cigars that I'll produce in another year to 2 years. So this one, it feels like it's getting pretty darn close. This is Sumatra. It's an Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper on it. I've got a Corojo binder on it. I've got the inside, all Cuban seed, Criollo 98. We start out with a single leaf of Ligero. And I had Ryan try it, had Nico over the Smoking Cave try it, had a few other people try it. And like the cigar, but I was it's good, but it's just not enough body to it. And so we ended up putting a second Ligero leaf in it, and so that's what we're smoking today. And this has been curing now for about 3 or 4 months. And so, how's it tasting to you tonight?
This is great. I'm a huge fan of Sumatra, and I love the fact that you take feedback from a constructive amount versus treating these like your children, and now all of a sudden you're offended by it. So that is always great. And honestly, this is fantastic. But again, I am incredibly biased. I have been a fan of your cigars. I introduced you to several lounges here in Denver based on how much I enjoy your cigars. My wife loves your cigars. So I am not unbiased by any means. I will just say that his cigars are and will always be a staple in my humidor. In fact, were a staple before you became a sponsor. And by the way, for any sponsors watching, this is a sponsor show, so only the banner will be up tonight as John is getting the front and center sponsorship program tonight of not having banner ads. So that's why I got the ticker going across. So if anyone's watching, that's why. But absolutely great feedback from both Nico and everybody else. I've put one of your cigars in their hands. So again, I will ask you, as not somebody from a cigar company, what gave you the sense of taste and sense of construction and blending to where most of your cigars, if not all, are produced out of the DR, and they're not a typical Dominican cigar?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So, I'm not an expert in cigars. However, I've got a good palate. I've been drinking wine for years, and so I've got quite a nose for wine. And
huge wine collection.
Yeah, so I love wine. I love bourbon. I've been to Scotland several times, and I love Scottish whiskey. Islay is my favorite region. Yeah. Great place to visit. People are great out there. Have been there 2 years since the whole COVID thing. Plan to go next year again, but everyone knows me. Bourbon and whiskey goes great with cigars. But I've got a good palate for that, and so it's helped me with the cigars. But it's a learning. This has definitely been a learning curve for me, and I've got a lot to learn. My partner Ariel, he will forget more than I'll ever learn. I mean, the guy has been doing this since he was 12 years old, and he went to the university in Havana in Cuba to be a master cigar roller years ago. His birthday is in a couple of days. He turns 50, and so he knows what he's doing. The blending, we discuss different blends. I say, hey, can we try this? And he's like, okay. It's like, okay, and so I asked him how is it? It's like, it's okay. So how do we make it better? But Ariel, honestly, if you don't have a good person with you that knows construction, knows the blending, knows what works, what doesn't work, you're going to be chasing your tail for years trying to figure it out, and you might get lucky. But without Ariel, I wouldn't be able to produce a cigar like this.
And you know what? To kind of wrap up what John's talking about, John is very, very focused on the crafting and quality management of the cigars. So much so that we were actually talking on the phone several months ago, and I was in the middle of smoking one of his cigars. When I said, "Oh, it's really tight," and I pulled a big stem out, and he's like, "Why was it tight?" And I didn't want to necessarily tell him, but then he actually demanded that I tell him and send him a picture. As soon as I pulled the stem, again, you can't fault everything because it's a handmade product, but this just goes to show how much John is so focused on quality with his cigars. He actually called Ariel or texted Ariel that picture I sent him and changed a few things moving forward. So the one thing that John has always made very clear to anybody that buys his product, you are always 100% able to reach out and let him know your experience. One, he always wants to know. Thank you so much, Bruce. Bruce is such a great guy. He's been with me for so long. He actually just found your SagradoCigars.com before we even mentioned it and put it up in the chat. Thank you so much, Bruce. And John made a phone call into Ariel and actually explained to him the issue and made sure things didn't happen again. It's only happened with one out of probably 100 plus of his cigars that I've had. So I will say 99% out of 100, I will 100% stick with that. But since John mentioned Islay, tonight I am going to be drinking the Axe and Oak Hillshine aged in the Lafroig barrels, which is why I said,
I've been there.
Since he said Islay, that's what I'm drinking tonight. And just because it is one of John's friends, John, what have you been drinking tonight?
Oh, that's a great question. So I was in Mexico for my birthday and for 2 weeks over Thanksgiving. I got a little bit of color, but had a great time down there. And so I met this one lady that worked at the resort, and she makes this. It's a type of mezcal, and it's a different type. Like as you get old, so it's let's see here. It's called
Beyond Smooth, guys.
Raicilla, and so there's a Raicilla. And so I've never heard that before, but it's a thing. Raicilla is a thing, and it's a type of mezcal which she explains to me that it's extremely smooth. It's got some fruity notes to it. There's a Blanco, so if you're familiar with tequila, but a Blanco, all the experts, aficionados, they all rate the Blancos. They don't do the Rapasados, they don't do the Añejos. It's usually the Blancos. That's the pure tequila or mezcal in this case. And so there's a Blanco was produced. And so she wanted me to try it when I was there. I said, no, I'm going to take it back to the States. And if I like it, let's talk about a collaboration possibly some point, because we plan to do collaborations as we go. And so I opened this thing up and tried it. And my God, this thing is so smooth. And I chilled it. And so as it started warming up, the fruitiness started coming out of it. Oh my God.
Yeah.
When we smelled it, the fruitiness out of it. I've never heard of Raicilla before in my life. It's a type of mezcal. And it's not popular in the States, and so it could be imported in. With our cigars, it's been fantastic. But it doesn't have a bite. She described it as having a little bit of smokiness, which most mezcals have a smokiness. This one has very slight smokiness. But the cool thing about this one is you can start adding spices and stuff to it. You can do blends and different agings with it. They've been around for 4 years. It's family-run business, small business. And they've got a plantation, Jalisco, which technically is the tequila, region. But I love the story. I love the family, element out of it. And they're starting out and they're looking to get it going in the United States. And my God, it's just like another Sagrado story. I just love how they're doing things. And I made a new friend.
And I'll be honest with you, as somebody that only drinks bourbon, whiskey, or scotch, never really had mezcal on that level. It was water. I mean, it was so incredibly smooth. So I thank John for sending that over. But everybody, if you are watching the show tonight, please post a comment because we may be doing something with all the comments that depending on kind of how things go, maybe John would be willing to do one cigar each, which I think would be about 5 with the fajito, right? 5-pack giveaway, if you're okay with that.
Yeah.
I've never actually asked a sponsor to do that,
Yeah,
but John's
why
a
not?
really good friend of mine, so I will ask for anybody that posts a comment. And since John doesn't know anybody in the comments, John is going to pick the best comment at the end of the night, and that person can then reach out to John, send the information, and John will send out a 5-pack of each one of his cigars. So, John, let's go really quickly through your portfolio. So you have the Charismatico. I'm going to let you say the names because I fucking butcher them every time.
Yes. So I have a Charismatico, which is a Maduro, and that is probably my favorite. That's Ariel's favorite for sure. That's usually what he's smoking. And I found that a lot of people are enjoying it. It's not an overpowering Maduro. It is a lovely Maduro. It's got some great flavor to it. Maybe a little bit of sweetness to it. It's wonderful. So we have that. So that one. Then we have the Suave, which is a Connecticut.
Oh, one of the best morning cigars, I promise you, with his coffee that you will ever have. But anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's all good. So, and we did a reblend on it. We had a blend before. We changed blends on it. We wanted to be different because what I had before was, it was good. It was a good cigar, but we wanted to make it different for the market. And so we went from with a Connecticut wrapper. What we changed up is we went with a Pennsylvania broadleaf on the binder, and then the inside is our typical blend, which is the Criollo 98 with the Seco and with a Ligero. So we get a little bit of spice in it. You definitely get a little bit of peppery, flavor from this Connecticut.
And I'm not a huge fan of Connecticut's myself outside of the morning, but this is a perfect afternoon and even into the night. It's got enough of that full flavor complexity to it without being a full-bodied stick. And I just want to show off this, again, bit of a fanboy here for Sagrado. And I was before he was ever even a sponsor. So just to tell everybody, he just became a sponsor a couple months ago. But he's been so amazing to let me try it. But look at this Maduro. I mean, if we can just show how clean that outside wrapper is, absolutely fantastic. Really quick, I want to oh my gosh. All right. So we have Sean from Smoking Cave throwing out an offer. I won't hold him to that. Sagrado is spelt wrong, but it's Sagrado. That's totally fine. Sean, who's the owner of Smoking Cave, my home base.
Thank you, Sean.
My home lounge there in Highlands Ranch, Colorado. If you are watching this show now or after, mention that you saw the show. No worries, Sean, none at all. Mention that you watched the show, and you'll get a 20% off discount in store off of any of the Sagrado line. And John, what do they have at Smoking Cave?
They have everything. They're well stocked. They've got Feitos, they've got Maduros, they've got Suaves, they've got the Fundacional, which is my Habano. They've got the full lineup. So if you want Sagrado, honestly, the best stock store for Sagrado in Colorado is we Smoking Cave. That's gonna be your right now the primary where we have it.
Now it's a little unfair because Nico's the store manager and Sean's the owner. We're all three very big fans of John. Now Sean, Smoking Cave's website, if I'm correct, is smokingcave.com. But please drop that in the comments, Sean, so that way everybody knows. Yeah, smokingcave.com. They have all the cigars online by the weekend. So mention the show, get 20% off. Thank you so much for being so kind, John. And I want to address Bruce's question here, because Bruce is somebody that is always willing to try anything that it seems like people are raving about. And Bruce has tried a lot of the stuff that I've recommended, but he says here, when he was on your website and Facebook, he didn't see where the cigars were for sale. Where does he go to find your cigars?
Well, if he wants to go to the store right now, Smoking Cave right now.
No, he's not in Colorado.
Oh, he's out of state. So we're setting up an e-commerce site, and our e-commerce site will be up in hopefully the next couple of weeks. And so it's taken us a little bit longer than we had thought, just because of the way the rules are with the processing and whatnot. The rules that you have to use private equity type processors, not normal banks. And so we've been working through all that, get that going. So, but in the meantime, out of state, just direct message me, and I can take care of you. I can take care of you out of state until we have, depending on what state are you in, Bruce?
Have him meet tomorrow, Ryan. I'll be at the store in the morning. Oh, so Bruce, you can just reach out to Smoking Cave, and it sounds like that Nico, am I correct that you'll be able to take care of Bruce tomorrow?
Perfect.
If he would like to place an order with you guys. If that's the case, then reach out to Smoking Cave. You can either reach out to Nico directly, and by the way, his Facebook name is Dominico. We all know him as Nico. Super young kid, but my God, the intelligence level of him. Yeah. I don't even know how Sean landed Nico, to be very honest with you. He's absolutely fantastic. Sean posted the phone number. Feel free, Bruce, to give him a call. They'll hook you up. They'll set you up. Yeah. And so let's jump back into. So we talked about the Charismatico, the Suave. Now we're gonna show
Fundacional.
The Fundacional. I'm just off. I speak everything like a gringo, straight up gringo. So tell everybody what this is.
This was our first cigar. This was our first cigar to test the market. So, and I brought one for Ryan tonight. It's a year old. So it's one of the more original cigars. So it's been aging, and so you see that if you look at the band, the ring on it is completely different. The quality on it, and we're talking about quality. We're
new, original.
We're not cutting corners. The new ring that we use, which we've been using for about 7-8 months now, that one is with wine stock paper. If you're familiar with wine stock paper, it's French paper. It's more expensive. It's thicker. If you ever see our rings, they're thicker paper. That's why it's wine stock. We're embossing it. We're going through multiple processes. These are, again, high quality rings because we want to be on our high quality cigar. And the foot band that we put on that shows the name. Same thing, emboss, color. We're not cutting corners of boxes. We went through, 3 or 4 iterations on the boxes, and we finally have a higher quality box. And our first paper box is the Feitos, and that's pretty. Grab that. That's kind of a badass box.
We're gonna get into the Fajitos here.
Yeah.
Now, there's one that I'm missing that you didn't bring with. What is the one that I'm missing?
Oh, the Magnifico.
I actually have that in my humidor, but because of how I'm sitting, let me see if I can actually get to it. Oh, yep, it's right here. Now this one is my 100,000% favorite of all the ones that he makes. They're all great, and I have them all, but to show you how simple that was for me to get out of the humidor should tell you something. This one, and I will let him explain, but this one is by far my favorite.
So that's a Habano wrapper, San Andres. We used a Sumatra binder, and then Criollo 98, all Cuban seed. All of our Criollo 98s, all Cuban seed, all grown Dominican Republic, but all Cuban seed. And then we always put the Seco in because it burns. It's a better burn throughout consistently in the construction. And then, we're going to use typically a leaf of Lejero. We could perhaps, depending on which one we've got, use also Vizio.
So I got to ask, why the bottom band instead of the band underneath. I'm always wondering that.
Yeah. So the reason why we did that is because it protects the end. The whole idea on that is let's protect the end, because that's something that can get damaged and so on. So we want to protect the end of it. And it peeled off. We just want it easy from that sense. You take it off, it's not an extra. I don't like having these bands that take up like half the cigar. I know that proper etiquette, you're supposed to remove it before you smoke it in the first place. Yeah. But yeah, that was what we did. We wanted to have the name on each one. And we did a survey when I had I had a survey we sent out and we asked a lot of people a year ago, 1 band, 2 bands, the band underneath, the band at the end, the foot. And honestly, resoundingly, the feedback we got was put at the end. I'm big on feedback. And as he mentioned, I take criticism. Well, if my baby's ugly, I know it. Tell me it's ugly. If I don't know it, I really want to know my baby's ugly. I will not defend it. I will say, how can we make it better? Because we're always about learning, growing, improving. And, we realize everyone has different tastes. One person may not like it, another one will. I'm not going to defend it, but if I get enough people to say, like I did with this Sumatra, it needs to be bigger. Oh, hell yeah. We had that leaf and I said, okay, how is it now? It's like 3-4 months later, it's maturing really nice.
No, this one is, this one is absolutely, I'm loving every bit of it. It's smoking great, tons of smoke output, very, very nice and smooth. It's not a gritty smoke to it at all. And the wrapper is just as,
it's beautiful. Beautiful leaves.
Let's see if it'll focus in here. There we go.
Yeah, beautiful.
Look at that. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic. No issues, no really big veins. So now let's kind of get into some of the fun stuff that you're doing right now. So one of the fun things, and I say this is fun because the name of it's fun to say, Fajito. Fajito. Again, terrible at pronouncing stuff. But let's get into, let me open this up. By the way, this is the box. Beautiful slide top box. Really, really nice. Even though it's called the ugly little cigar, it is an amazing little cigar. Yeah. It's about a 45-minute smoke. It is hand rolled. I cannot express that enough. It is hand rolled. It is not machined, and it is absolutely fantastic. So tell everybody what this is, how this came about.
It's a great story. I mean, before I tell the story, I got to give a shout out to my Scottish brother who, wears kilts, and I wear kilts. I got a Scotland. I got 5 kilts. So that's Patrick Love. It's on. So shout out to Patrick here. We've done a couple of CSU games. He's been his kilt, and he's a great guy. I also a new friend who I met at the New Belgium Tour de Fat. So these are the Fajitos. So Fajitos, the story in this was kind of fun. So I go out to Dominican Republic, a bit, and I was outside. I was working on the my friend Ariel's car with him. We were doing some electrical work, and so, anyways, we're drinking Heineken beers, and several beers into it, we're getting a little buzzed, and he comes out with a box. He's got this little box. I come out there. He's always got a box of like different stuff, and so he said, "John, Ariel, I've been teaching him Spanish." I'm teaching him English, and he's helped me to understand more of the Cuban and the Caribbean Spanish, which is different than Mexican Spanish. It's a very fast Spanish. They cut the words down and lots of different slangs I'm not used to. I've been learning over the last year. But anyway, so we're out there, and he brings this box, and I'll show you. So here he's got like this cigar. With this is how it looked, and he looks and he answers me just laughing. He's like, just giddy. He's like, John, look. It says, looky. So I look at it, I grab it, and so he says, smoke. So light up, smoking the thing. I'm like, oh, wow, this is pretty darn good. This is really good. He says, John, it's feo. And, it's feo in Spanish means ugly. I'm looking, I'm like, huh. I'm just thinking about it. I'm just internalizing it. I'm thinking, this is a small 38 by 6, he's calling it feo. And I said, no, it's not feo. It's not feo. He looked at me like, what do you mean? I said, Ariel, este no está feo. Este está feito. So it means like a little ugly thing, right? And so that was the birthing of this name. It was one of those moments. And so I tell you, that trip, I was smoking so many of these. He was smoking so many of these. And it's funny because if you've been to, Dominican Republic, you're smoking in the car, you're smoking everywhere you go, you're eating, you're smoking cigars. It's not the same like in the States. It's usually like, okay, I'm not going to eat, I'm going to smoke my cigar, all the separation. But out there, this is the life. It's like the Caribbean life. And so I really got attached to it. And I said, you know what? There's a thing. So then we go to our box manufacturer and ring manufacturer, and his name's Alex with Allsac, and he's also become a really good friend of mine. So we're out there, and I show him the cigar, and I said, I've got this new cigar, this new name, Feito. He's laughing. He said, oh my God, laughing. He wouldn't stop laughing. Just thought that was the funniest thing. This little Feito. He's never heard that before. Ugly little cigar. It's not really that ugly, but that's what he says, Feito. And so then he's like, John, that's brilliant. He goes, contact your IP attorney, protect this thing. So the next thing I do, I get out my phone. I'm texting over to Dan, my IP attorney in Chicago. I said, Dan, run a search on this thing. Let's get this thing registered. This thing this is a thing. And so anyways, he ran the search. He said it's good. We'll go ahead. We'll start processing on this thing. But no, we really believe that it's a great cigar. It's a great price. We got Smoking Cave. They're selling these things for just under $5 a piece. I mean, they're very reasonable. There's 25 in a box. So you get 25 38 by 6s in a box. You get, if you take your time, you get 30 minutes to 40 minutes on a cigar. You can really suck the thing down to 20.
Oh, you can stretch it for an hour. Trust me.
Yeah.
Trust me.
And for that price, it's a great everyday cigar. And the box is cool as shit. It's just fun to say, I'm smoking a Feito. I'm smoking this little ugly thing, but it's great for a golf course. It's great if you're fishing, if you're hunting, if you're, just outdoors, if you want to kick it for 30 minutes at lunchtime. So it's a cigar you have to spend all night smoking.
And on top of it, let's be honest, most of the time when people are smoking a $5 cigar or less, oftentimes, unless that's what somebody normally smokes, and if that's the case, that's awesome as long as you enjoy it, of course, they're either in a rush, don't have a lot of time, they're doing yard work. This will be a cigar that will pleasure the palate without feeling like it's a $5 or less cigar.
Yeah.
And honestly, that is what I love about them. John brought these up when we did a little cigar event here at my house over the summer and kind of let everybody try them. And again, my wife was loving these. And in fact, when she just came in here, she's like, oh, great. You got a box of those. So hopefully I get to smoke them.
Oh, yeah.
But this is a great cigar. It is, like I said, you can easily, without trying, get about 40 minutes out of it. And if you don't sit and puff, 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 you can easily get an hour smoke out of it. Or you can go balls crazy on it. It doesn't overheat. It doesn't resin up. And you can get about 30 minutes if that's all you have. So it's a really great, honestly, again, just because John and I are as great friends as we are, again, I'm very unbiased about this. This would be like the jack of all trades cigar. It could be a longer one. It could be a shorter one. Either way, you're not going to sacrifice flavor. You're not going to sacrifice taste. And this is the brand new box that he did come out with. Now, John, let's kind of just touch base a little bit.
Okay, can I give a little more shout out here real quick?
Huh?
I'm not sure if they're on you, but another quick shout out.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we have a store we set up in Alaska. So it's called Fifth Avenue Cigars. I have to tell you, those guys, they're also huge fans. They're stocking our stuff. They're what Sean and Nico are doing for us here in Colorado right now, pioneering the brand with us. They've also partnered with us up in Alaska with my teammate Keith, and they absolutely love Keith. Keith's a great guy. He works with me. He's been promoting to other stores in the Northeast and in other states. And this Feito has been just a home run for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if you guys are watching the show, post a question, and John at the end of the show will look through the comments really quickly and pick the best question outside of course, Sean and Nico. We'll pick the best question and we'll do a 5-pack giveaway, which will give you the 5 main cigars and the 4 main cigars and 1 fajito included in that. Now, let's kind of just touch base really quick before we get into the full meat and potatoes here. You also do coffee,
I do.
And so he does it, and I will let him explain if he's willing to.
Yeah.
He does this one coffee that I've never heard done this way. And in fact, Tony, my partner in my charity that we do, was loving every bit of this coffee. And he literally has a truck, to tell you how obsessed with coffee Tony is. He has a truck that he's got about 1,000 different ways to make coffee at really any road stop side where he's stuck, stranded, construction site where he's got more than 10 minutes. He knows coffee and he was obsessed with it. So let's start with this and then tell everybody about it, because I know this is similar to the coffee that you gave me, and then we'll get into this one.
Absolutely. So the coffee, so it's funny. So we had planned, we have a 7-year build out on our company, which is building other businesses, and our other business, which we started, which I'm crazy as hell to do this at the same time. So I've got 2 businesses running right now: Sagrado Cigars, Sagrado Coffee, all owned by Sagrado Global. So that's, we're building out a brand within different product categories, all high quality, all designed to bring people together for consuming and for, again, building relationships and family, friends, etc. The coffee, with that one, I was lucky. I finished my my MBA at Colorado State University this past year, and as I was doing it, we had a capstone project, and I was like, oh my God, this would be great. I can do a business plan on the coffee, because that coffee's not yet launched, and so we got picked. So I submitted this project. I had some teammates that all wanted, they liked the idea of the coffee and so on. So we built out this coffee business. And so through my relationship, so on, I have another person, a friend of mine named Tommy. And so Tommy's involved with me, help me. And so Tommy he's part owner on the coffee side of it. And so on the coffee side of it, we were able, because of his connections, he had also an MBA. He finished a year before me, and he was going to have a coffee store, but it just, plans didn't work out. He moved, some things happened. And so I said, Tommy, you love coffee. I love coffee. So why don't we do something together? Let's work together. And, since you're not going to do your own thing, let's not stop the party. Let's keep it going. And so, Tommy, he's a great guy, younger guy. He's in his 20s. He's excited. He's just, everyone loves him. He's an infectious type of person, great person to know, and smart, understands his business, has friends in the business. We had a guy that we brought in to help us, and we called him affectionately the savant, because the guy was just like, he knows everything about coffee. He traveled to Asia and worked at a plantation out there and been to Central America, and he knows coffee inside out, did the cupping and whatnot, knows how to rate coffees. And so he said, you know what, if we're going to launch the coffee, we want to launch it with something that people say, wow, it's something truly great. It's not Folgers, it's not Starbucks. It's, sorry, Starbucks, but it's something.
Burnt coffee.
Burnt coffee. And so we want to have something truly good, but to fit within Sagrado, who we partner with, plantation wise, we had to pick a high quality plantation. We've got 2 in Dominican Republic, and both of them are organic. Both of them contribute to the people. They give them food, the people that work for them, housing. They give out to the community. They dump money into the education, which anyone that knows the education in the Dominican Republic, it's really spotty.
It's lacking.
It's lacking. And so they invest in the people, they invest in the workers. And Ramirez is one of our plantations that we source from. And they've been around since like the 40s or 50s. I got to meet on one of the tours, like the 4th generation grandson. And he's in his 20s. He's getting his business degree in I forget, it's the East Coast. I forget where he was going. I think it was Rutgers University. I think it's where he was going. But anyway, so he's getting his business degree and he's giving the tour, and I'm learning about the coffee. Again, I'm not a coffee expert. I wasn't a cigar expert. I'm relying on people that know what they're doing to educate me and help me to fulfill our mission, which is to deliver a high quality product to people and bring them together, give up people a wow factor. And so through that, and that's where you got to try the red honey processed coffee. And red honey, it's interesting. It's not honey. It's what it is. It's a process, because they dry coffee. They dry the coffee on these African raised beds. Okay, that's what they call these beds. That's what sorted out, they dry. Some of them are washed, some are unwashed. Some of them have the fruit on, some have the fruit removed. And so what you got to try was unwashed fruit on, and it dries that fruit on and then gets roasted. You don't see the fruit, but the whole process with that fruit drying on it, and then that roasting process, it permeates inside that seed, the nuts. And so so it's funny. I didn't know that the coffee cherry itself, as they call it cherry, it's sweet. It's you're out there and you're out. I got pictures. If you go to my Sagrado Coffee website, you'll see me out in the plantations. I won't do business with a vendor unless I know them. That's part of the sustainability. If you do business, every single vendor I've got, I know the people. Whether it's the boxes, the labels, the coffee, whatever, I know the people, and that's important to us because we have to be able to say that, because otherwise we can't say we're sustainable, that we know these people, right? And so we learned about these processes, and so I brought this back. I brought all these different ones. I got a cupping experience. If you know what cupping is, it's you have these little cups and you are tasting it. You have to sip it and inhale it and try to understand. It's kind of like wine or bourbon, what you're tasting. I had a blind test. I had to taste these 3 different coffees. I had to be able to identify at the end of the tour which one was which. And so the first one I knew right away, and that was the red honey one. I knew, this is the red honey, right? Then the other 2, it's like, oh my God, is this the organic? What's the other one? And so I got all 3 right, which I was like really pleased with, because I don't know anything about coffee, but I knew the flavors. I got to understand as they educate us on what I was supposed to be tasting. So it's quite amazing. And so the red honey it's like tea. It's like a tea. All of our coffee we produce, people are saying it's not really like coffee. It's not bitter. This is smooth. It's got fruit. It's got cocoa. We're tasting these different flavors. And these are people not that are experts, aficionados. These are people like me that are like, just like coffee, don't like really Starbucks. We'll go to the Ziggy's or some of the other smaller, places. Better coffee. But this is really phenomenal. And these are people who care about quality. They care about their workers. And it fits our mission of the company. The other one that we found, which was our first one, was Spirit Mountain. Spirit Mountain is a boutique. It's smaller. Our coffee is higher priced, that one, because it's limited. It's limited on the supply, because when it runs out, you're out. You have to wait for the next season. And so that's the challenge you run against on the smaller plantations. Small, I mean, they're probably like 1,400 acres. I mean, it's a lot of space. They have a lot of plants, but they don't have the infrastructure like Ramirez. But Spirit Mountain's amazing. The roaster that we use is out of Bourbon, Illinois, Intersect Roasters. Again, these guys, like during the holidays, they are out there giving food. They spend thousands of dollars buying meals for homeless and so on. They're big in the community. They have the heart like that. And, they do a great job. They're small business like us. And they have a heart that's bigger than their business. That's what we look for. We look for that. If it doesn't fit in our model, we won't bring them on. If they're discriminatory, if they're not giving, if they're just looking for strictly for profit and whatnot, we're not in that. That's not us. We want to give as much as we can, and we give by giving to people that have the same mission as us.
And that's one of that's kind of how John and I even got together with my partner Tony Pfeiffer, who owns another amazing lounge. Just got to give Tony a shout out.
Absolutely.
Here.
Yes.
Casbar Lafayette is gorgeous.
Yes.
And Casbar Parker is
both
incredible as well. So if you are in the Parker, Colorado area, definitely check out Casbar. And if you're in Lafayette, check out Casbar as well. But that was really kind of the central point that brought John and I together.
I think they're picking us up.
Okay.
So we're talking with Clayton.
So you should be able to also find him at both Casbar lounges.
Great guys over there. Another great company.
And that's kind of how we got started. Is even connecting. Was over the fact that we had a charity, Colorado, Ronald McDonald, and John had such a great time at the event that I hope he will be a partner in future events that we have going forward as well. Stay tuned for that beginning of first quarter of next year. I'll be releasing some details.
Yeah, Toby had
about
an event.
Next one.
Toby had a charity event or a Casbar, and I participated, donated a product for the giveaways and so on. And in fact, this guy I met in Cancun. He's part of BACA, which is a biker group, and it's Bikers Against Child Abuse. And I again, that's a big anything that's protecting kids or protecting animals. That's near and dear to my heart. I just abuse. I just that's just something that there's no place in the world for that. And so I met this guy down there. His name's Charles. He's out of Detroit, Michigan, and he loved the cigars and so on. And he's got a charity that they do. Obviously, they raise money once a year because the BACA group, they don't have multiple fundraisers. They have once a year. And he asked me if I would volunteer to contribute and help support. Oh, hell yeah. So we've been doing that. We've done some other events with the Chamber of Commerce up in Wellington, Colorado, some golf events where we've helped raise money for the children's, the boys club, the girls club, and so on. So that's the stuff that brings me joy.
Absolutely. And to address Bruce's question, that's only 5:30 here, Bruce. Smoking Cave will absolutely be open. And who knows? It'll be up to John. Maybe he'll throw in a little bit of coffee for whoever he picks at the end of the night. So if you are one of the people that are watching tonight, please drop a question, and John will pick the best question at the end of the night, and that is who will get the 5-pack. Now we have do you know Patrick Love?
I do. That's the kilt. That's the guy with the kilt.
Fantastic. So he actually wants to go to the DR with you. So that's his question.
He's a great guy. Patrick and I, it's like same thing. It's like, became my brother, at Tour de Fat. We were talking and just a great guy, great story. So he retired fireman from Poudre Fire in Fort Collins area, and just big heart, great guy. Love the guy. His father, he's single father. I've been a single father. I know what that's like, and he's just real. And I really love people who just are real.
Well, on to our last product. Can we talk about these?
Yeah. Oh, we have another one. We have we have a new one that's arriving tomorrow. So
I forgot about that. One.
So our 1-year anniversary cigar is going to arrive tomorrow, and do you have that out? It looks like a 56 by 6.5.
No, you put it back.
Oh, here. Yeah, this thing here. Oh my God! Wow. Yeah.
He knows them all without bands. I don't get it. Oh, it's got
see the tip. Yeah. So this guy here, it looks like a 56 by 6.5 Behike. Okay. And then when I was first looking at this with Ariel, I said, Ariel, what the hell? So Ariel working in Cuba all those years, he knows how to make all these different cigars. And I said, my God, this would be great. And I'll tell you what, this one's got, if you like a lot of nicotine, woo, boy, it's got some nicotine to it. And
it does. That's the one you gave me. Yeah. I actually still have one left. It's a fantastic cigar. He gave it to me several months ago.
Yeah. Great cigar. My teammate Keith, he can't handle so much nicotine. It's funny. And I remember he smoked a whole one he was up in Alaska with the Fifth Avenue cigars. He told me he went to bed. He was sweating. He was tossing. He was turning. And he said it was so much for him. But again, it's not, if you're used to smoking cigars or you're a cigarette smoker, it's not going to do that to you. I was smoking these. We were doing like these promo videos in our factory in Tamboril, and I smoked one of these. And it was the morning, and I hadn't had breakfast or anything. My stomach was empty. I got halfway into it because you wanted a picture of me smoking cigars and walking around our production area and so on. And I tell you what, I got lightheaded about a third of the way into, like, wow, what happened?
It's got a bit of a punch. I smoke about 3 to 5 cigars a day myself, and it's got a little bit of a punch to it. It's very, very nice, very smooth, great blend. That is not one, unless he deems it, that will be in the 5-pack. But that is one that if you like all the other lines, you are going to want to get.
Yes.
Now, Cody Carroll, who, by the way, was a big shout out to Cody, as I know absolutely nothing about illustration or design of signs or logos. Cody was so kind to help me out and put my logo into a vector file and make it look substantially nicer than what it did before. So Cody, drop a question here. We're doing a 5-pack giveaway. at the end for whoever John thinks had the best question of the night inside of the chat. And we'll be giving away at least his 4 core and then 1 fajito. Anything else on top of that is just out of the pleasure of his own heart. So let's kind of dive into what makes John tick. So now we get into the meat potatoes of where I take everybody else with. We did a lot of product with you. What makes John John, and what does John do when he's not Sagrado John?
Oh, it's a great question. The thing is I'm driven by passion. I've been passionate my whole life, and I can't take on something unless I'm passionate. Like when I went back to school when I turned 50 and I got my undergrad done, I was in the Marine Corps when I was younger, and and that was definitely a passionate opportunity, standing on those yellow footprints in San Diego, saying, "What the hell?" But no, I'm very passionate. Whatever I do, I don't take on something unless I can go full bore into it. I'm up early, I'm up late, I usually go to bed absolutely exhausted, where there's not an ounce of energy left in me. I'm out. I don't have a problem falling asleep, but I'm driven by people. I have to have a goal in mind, like with this industry and so on. I'm driven right now to build this business venture up as big as I can get it, like I say, with the mission of helping people. I want to be able to at some point produce enough money where I can help people have education, whether it's a trade school, whether it's college, whatever it may be, but people that are truly in need. Single mother, someone who's disadvantaged in the inner city, whatever it may be. They grew up in a rural area that they've never had opportunity for money. They don't have, wealth of, from family and stuff like that. And they want to get ahead. They want to do something, but they don't want to just make money. They want to get ahead to help other people. They want to be able to help their family, their kids, and whatnot. So I'm very much driven with that mission in mind of everything I do. I'm continually focused and, almost the point of maybe drive myself crazy with that, because that's, until my mission is accomplished, I keep going till I get off the next one.
So Bruce has a question. How many different blends do you have? Now, Bruce, keep in mind, we showed 4 blends of the core plus the 1 fajito. And then we also showed the Anniversario that he's got coming out, which is the
tomorrow they'll be in stock.
So how many blends do you have in total? And I'll take his question one further. What are we looking at potentially for next year?
Sure.
Hint, hint, hint. Yes. We'll go ahead and get into this one, which is loosely named the ugly white guy. Or the ugly white stick.
Gringo Fieto,
which is just completely project named, not
code
the
name.
end name.
Code
name, not the end name at all. But tell us, what do you have coming out potentially next year outside of the 6 now?
That's great.
4 blends.
So that's a great question. We feel like right now we've got on our premium cigars, our premium ones, we've got a good foundation right now. We have a good foundation. We're probably going to be rolling into different vitolas, which, shapes and sizes for this next year based on popularity. We've got, right now we've got Toro vitolas. We've got Robusto vitolas. We're, torpedoes. We've made torpedoes. We've made Churchills. We've made different ones that that we're capable. We have molds to make. And so we're looking to do a little diversification in vitolas based on what our customers tell us that are in demand. Maybe it's a Corona, double Corona, whatever it may be. So that's one thing we're looking at on that build out. However, as far as new ones, so I have to thank my partner Keith. Keith said, "Hey, and he's the guy that was sweating and sweating all night with the big guy, the Behike style one." So that guy there, that is a Connecticut wrapper fajito. And so Nico tried one today, and I asked Nico, I said, "So what do you think?" Stopped at the Smoking Cave, and he tried it. He said, it tastes very similar to the fajito. However, it's got a little bit of sweetness to it. And that's that Connecticut wrapper, which, it's kind of cool that the Connecticut was actually able to pull a little bit of sweetness out for them. So that's kind of fun. So we're looking at rolling that one out. I've been through, I like to test these thoroughly for like 6 months to a year before I release something new. I want to make sure that it's got some good general acceptance, that, we're going to set up to succeed. We're not going to just say, oh, I like it. Let's just throw it out there. Yeah. Just like this Sumatra. I love Sumatra. I love it.
Oh, no, this is absolutely great. And the reason why, so I actually, we were talking today, codenamed it tonight, because he didn't have anything in stock for this. But since everybody since a lot of manufacturers call their Connecticut white, I thought it would be a fun play on words to call it the
Gringo.
Viejo Gringo, because that pretty much means white for a lot of Spanish speaking people, or at least I think. If I'm wrong, I apologize.
So when I'm in Dominican Republic, or we say the República Dominica, they call me either the Americano or I'm the Gringo. And so then I got to play, what am I? Am I the Gringo or am I the Americano? It's like, you're both. Okay, fine.
Now, Cody asks here, in the form of keeping it with questions, what got you into actually deciding that you were going to make cigars? And I'll preface it by this. I've been told by so many manufacturers that were very wealthy before the show, or before they decided to make cigars, that the quickest way to $1 million is to start with 2.
Yeah. Right,
so what
right.
got you into cigars, and kind of how did that love, because you're in technology like myself.
I'm in technology, right? That's my day-to-day technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And we won't necessarily, unless he wants to, state where he actually works, but he works for a huge technology company and travels all over the world, and doing his technology sales side of things. So what got you into cigars? Why did you want to make that step?
I've been in technology for a long time. I've worked in a public sector for 30 years. And so, I'm not in my 20s or 30s if you do the math, right? So I've been doing it for a long time. I'm really good. I've made a lot of friends. I've got a lot of friends within government and so on. And I really enjoy it. Like people like Patrick, who I work with, people with Poudre Fire, and I work with the State Patrol, and I work with a lot of other people within California, Hawaii, here, Utah, and so on. But I've been doing this for so long that, it's like, I like the challenges of it. Technology is always a challenge, but I thought, okay, I'm getting older. I just finished my MBA, and honestly, when I started looking at the way the tax system was changed as well, when I was going through the MBA, you started looking at things that maybe you didn't really look at so much before. I was looking at, when Trump changed the tax policies. And so I looked at, wow, if I don't own a business, I'm screwed, because you get into a certain tax bracket that, and the bracket got wider as far as where you're getting screwed on the taxes. And I thought, unless you own a corporation or an LLC, so you're screwed.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I got to do something.
You're punished for success.
You're punished for success. And so I thought, I got to do something. And then my undergrad was in interdisciplinary liberal arts. And I was studying a lot of discrimination. That was by choice, because I wanted to learn more about it. Because I want, I'm a middle-aged white guy. So what do I know, right? And so I'm just like, what is it? Is it really equal? Is it not equal? So I got a lot of education. I got to learn a lot about it, and it really drove me. So that was one thing that drove me. But I didn't want to go to sociology. I wasn't going to make any money in sociology, and I wouldn't be able to help as many people doing that. But I thought, how can I make a lot of money and help people? And I just really started thinking about it. And when COVID hit, and so on, I had a lot more time to think as I was in my basement doing Zoom calls, doing Zoom call after Zoom call. And I was depressed. I wasn't seeing my friends, everyone's built, all of us experience that stuff,
That's my life,
exactly. And so, I just got thinking, how can I get people together? Like when this thing is over, how do I draw people together, do quality and so on? I just didn't know it. And so I was out in Florida. I was meeting with a friend. It was his birthday. And, again, a Cuban friend of mine, and we were smoking cigars, Cuban cigars, and drinking Cuban rum, all stuff that you can find anywhere in the United States, right? It's not really, but so
I know nothing about rum, so I will. I really only know anything about the bourbon Scotch whiskey. Again, outside of that, everything lays me flat.
The idea came out about cigars, and he knew some people in Dominican Republic. That's how I met Ariel. That's how I met Angelo. His other partner, Angelo's in Florida. He's partnered with Ariel as well. Angelo's a great guy, master cigar roller as well. Just really sharp. Like I say, Ariel actually was his teacher, and Angelo was his apprentice, and now he's a grown man, as well, and very successful, in this industry. Known, he's done things with like people in the Guinness Book of World Records on cigars. It's insane, just some things they've done. But I got exposed to it when I got to go out and actually see the fields, and I got to see the warehouses. I got to understand really, not from a layman's term of just going to a cigar store and smoke cigars and enjoying cigars, but when I got to experience it and touch the soil and learn about the soil, and because that's how I learned about wine. That's how I fell in love with wine. And so when I got to see how it was, oh wow, this is truly an art. This is not just, you just throw tobacco together and a cigar. This is genius. I mean, these are people that really have to know what they're doing. And so it was I was like, wow, I was blown away by how much there is to know about this industry. And so I thought I could do this, but I thought this, I want to do more. My whole idea was I want to have multiple products within the company. And I think some other companies are doing that. They're starting to do that now. They have bring coffee and their spirits and so on. And so our whole rollout is let's roll in products that are complementary, high quality, that people can grab together and have a Sagrado moment. And so a lot of, oftentimes, people that are knowing our brand, they're saying, I'm having a Sagrado moment, John. And that's the code of I'm with family, I'm with friends, I'm with my wife, I'm with, my brother, my sister, whatever it may be. It's Sagrado. It's those moments.
And so as you're developing these, are you taking lead in the blending, or are you leaving a lot of that to Ariel and then you're critiquing the blend?
So initially, because again, I came into this, as I admit, I like to live my life with humility, which means I have an open mind. I can learn. If I don't have humility, I can't learn. Right.
Sure.
And so, Ariel is really, he's taught me a lot. And I will sit with Ariel, and I'm like a student. I'm sitting in his office, and I got my note paper down. I say, okay, explain this to me. So we're going through the different blends, and he's actually, we've been into, like, we go into the warehouses and we'll take these different tobaccos, and it's fantastic to be with the master cigar roller. He'll roll these things up, inside there. And, it's ugly as hell. It looks like a faith though, because it's got a binder, it doesn't have a wrapper on it.
It's like a fuma.
Yeah, exactly. And so you say, try this. And so I got to experience, what the different leaves taste like, because I said, I want to know what are the differences. And there's quite a difference in each leaf, and their age anywhere from 3 to 12 years. And it's amazing, just how different they all are. And, the tobacco, the seed, the Cuban seed that's grown in Dominican Republic, it's the same seed that's grown over in Cuba, but the soil in Cuba, it's sandy. The water goes right through it. So the tobacco grows different. It tastes different. Yeah. And the DR, it's more of a clay soil. The water will remain there. So they have to plant certain type of plants around it that help with the absorption of the water, how it can drain out. It's important to shade it so that it gets the morning sun, but not the afternoon sun. If it gets the afternoon sun, then that's damaging to it. Just like on the like coffee can be like that too. So it's just different things that I've been learning in it. But that's really, it's all that fascination. Asking the question, the fascination of it was something I could be passionate about. I could, if I can't be passionate about it, if it was just making like a, like a little widget, like a keyboard or something like that, it wouldn't get me excited.
No, and again, that says a lot from a tech guy. John has been breathing, living tech, and I think a lot of that comes through in the cigar side, because a lot of the technology, especially if you know what John does, is all about quality. Yes. What the company he works for, and so that brings with it in his mind a kind of expectation of quality when he actually goes to buy some, which is another reason why I'm a huge fan of Sagrado, because John was first and foremost a cigar smoker before being a cigar maker. So his standards, in my opinion, are not lazy, and they are to the point where, like, would he buy this? If he wouldn't buy it, it's not going to be put out.
Yeah, we had a problem with boxes. We had some boxes. I was with Nico. I was at an event. He had a shoot event, and I had some boxes. There was new boxes that came in, and the lids were not secure on one side, and so I'm looking at this like, oh my god. So I'm next thing I know, I'm WhatsApp. I'm texting over to our box maker. I said, we have a problem. And so I went through, I went through all of our boxes, and we have quality seals on. I sliced every single one. I started going through every single box myself just to look at the boxes to make sure that all the lids were right. And then I started seeing another problem. And then I said, the labels are not exactly square. They're not in the same place. And I'm like, this is like a 5-year-old did it. And so I said, okay. So I went back and I made up a document for them. And I started showing, like a quality, like this is good, this is not good, examples and so on, for quality control. But I bring that in from my experience in the technology industry, the company I've been working for years, high quality,
very high quality,
not the cheapest, the best that you'd get. And I bring that into the cigars. If I have problems with like my rings or my anything, the cigars, it doesn't matter. For me, the presentation, your experience, if the ordering is a bad experience, if the customer support who you talk to is bad, anything along the line from the beginning to end, if your experience is not primo, I want to know about it, because that's not what we sell. We don't sell low quality. It's got to be, you see, it's a value. You say, what I'm paying for, I probably should be paying more.
And that's what separates the fly-by-nights that are here for a year and gone from somebody like John, who actually wants to learn from his audience, learn from his clients, learn from the people that buy. So do you know Eric Nelson?
I do.
So Eric Nelson says that you got a bunch of people up in Michigan watching. Thank you so much, Eric. I truly
Eric's from Michigan.
That.
He's with Puder Fire also. He's the in IT.
Okay.
So he's a customer of mine and a very dear friend. And so we've done a lot of football games together and events and birthday parties and Mardi Gras parties. And I love festivities. It's just fun to when you can just do something extraordinary, something different.
Absolutely. So Sean asked a question that I've heard an answer to a lot, but I'm curious about what your answer to is around your cigar. How many people do you think on average handle the cigar from seed to package?
Gosh, I'd say probably from seed to package, it's probably just the big guys. I mean, just really this for the most part, there's probably some boutique that do it, not a lot.
Well, I've heard roughly around 300 hands or more touch a cigar.
It's a lot, because like for example, the plantation we buy from, they've been around since like 1950, 56, I believe, some of that area. And they brought over the seeds from Cuba over, and they're well known. They and their quality is very high. And that's again who we mostly source from. So all of our filler typically is going to be from that finca or plantation, as you call it. Our the wrappers we typically don't get from Dominican Republic. Those are typically from like Mexico, like the San Andres, the Maduro, the Habano. Ecuador is just some great things. I prefer actually the Ecuadorian Sumatra than I do Sumatra from Sumatra. I think it has more flavor in Ecuador, which, as we're talking about Cameroon sounds like it's the opposite.
Yeah, the Cameroon from Cameroon, in my opinion, is a better Cameroon than Cameroon seed. It's not to say that Cameroon seed grown elsewhere is not good. I just personally don't think it is the best. And, if you guys are following Sagrado, keep that in mind, what we just talked about, because there may be something coming out here. But Bruce has a compliment for you. He says, for someone that says he's not an expert, you certainly do know your stuff. So
I've got a lot to learn.
so let's talk a little bit about that. What was that learning curve like for you? And then let's kind of delve into what I've been talking about with a lot of people is mentors. What was that learning curve? Do you have a mentor?
Yeah.
And what is the value of a mentor in your life in this industry? And we'll go around that.
It's extremely valuable. I mean, I've got a few mentors. You've become a mentor for me in a sense within the industry. Nico's been, a good mentor with me, it's really on the cigar itself, the construction, the learning, Ariel and Angelo, these guys are master cigar rollers. I mean, these guys, they, like I said, they know more than I'll ever learn, and I don't want to ever know as much as them, because that's what they do. I want to be able to, be the ambassador of what they do. But, again, from that sense, I've been learning, and I've been getting some more self-confidence on, what might, be, a good potential blend, and I look at what other people are doing. I look at what Fuente is doing. I'll look at what Padron's doing. I love Padron. Padron's one, like the 1926. That's, from a brand not mine. That's one of my favorites. The 1926. That's a nice, full body stick, but I like to see what other people are doing. And then I like to say, okay, let's try that. And so I like try what other people are doing. And, but I don't want to copy anybody. I want to improve on something. I want to say, how can I make it different? And so, that's the whole thing. How can I make it better? How can I make it more enjoyable for people? But the mentors are vital, because I'm never going to learn it all.
So as somebody that's been in sales 20 years myself, you a little longer than 20 years, what is the value of a mentor in one's life, whether it be a personal life mentor or a business mentor?
I think accountability. I think a good mentor tells you things that you don't want to hear, and
why is that important?
Because number one, you have to be, like I say, you have to have humility, number one, to be able to handle that. And honestly, you can't grow. And, if you can't listen to other people, be empathetic. The other thing is empathy. Empathy is in sales. It's critical to be empathetic, is to what are the needs of the other people, and so on. And so when I'm with clients, in the technology space or this space, but not, I always will sit down and, what are your needs? What's not working for you? What can we do better? What in your other areas, where do you have your gaps, and so on? And so, like within this industry, I'm trying to do things different. I'm trying to use, data. My MBA, I learned a lot about data management and how to use business intelligence and so on. So we're, I'm using that within our business, just to be able to, under the trends, what seems to be going the right direction, what seems to be going the wrong direction. But I don't live by data. I use data just as a barometer, so to say. And then it's good to go to someone like you, or so say, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think about these metrics? Are we going the right direction? So it's great to have someone that can say, you're full of shit. That stuff's no good. I said, okay, let's talk about it. Explain to me why. So, but that's the humility, that's the empathy, and and that's critical. I think to have a good business, to be sustainable, you have to have those qualities.
So what is something outside of your cigar, brand wise? And you had mentioned a few, Fuente and Padron, the 26 Padron. What is something that you look for in a cigar? And part two to that question is, if you find something in a cigar that you really love, do you then try to an extent, bring that into your line?
Yeah. I look at quality. I look at quality of packaging. I look at that, even though that has nothing to do with the cigar itself, but to me, it has something to do with the brand, with the branding. I look at how people, how they, what their image is in my mind, and so on. So branding is important to me. That's one of the things I look at. I look at the construction of cigar. I've smoked cigar. How is the construction on it? I look to see, what's the soul of that cigar? Does it have a spirit? Does it have something unique to it? Or is it just like, all these other cigars? It's, I growing up, as a kid, you smoked like a White Owl or the Little Kings, where they were horrible cigars, but I mean,
cigarettes.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, the wine I drank back then and so on.
Boone's Farm.
Yeah. There's all the sweet stuff. I was drinking all the dessert wines and so on, because you have as a palate as a kid, you can't really handle the drier wines and so on. And on the cigars, really your palate's not developed. It takes time to develop a palate. Really, it's not. it doesn't happen overnight. But I look at those elements on it. I look at value. I look at pricing on it. It's like, is it, because I see cigars in the industry. Some cigars, like these special cigars, I've seen $500 or $50 and so on. And I've smoked some of those, not the $500 ones, but some of the 50s and so on. I've been to, like in the UK, like in London. I've had some of these Cubans, and you go to these cigar bars, really elite cigar bars. Everything's like super expensive, and it's you're like, wow, this is special. Like I think like all the people here own a Lamborghini or something, So and I smoked that cigar. I remember just having a good time. The ambiance was great. There's a big, like painted picture of Castro on the wall in there and so on. And they, they had really good rums, and spirits, and, but the experience was good, but the cigar itself, I thought, God, that's just a lot of money for what I just smoked. It wasn't that good. And for me, that would break my heart if someone says, I just spent, $12, $15, $5 a cigar. It's overpriced. But I would appreciate that. It'd break my heart at one point, but at the same point, I would take it in, and then I would probably talk to you and other people and say, tell me what you think. Do you agree with this? I mean, it means a lot to me that, we're producing stuff to keep up with everyone else. Though we're small, though we don't have a big brand, we're trying to eventually get up there, size wise, but not to the point where our quality isn't good and our company isn't fun. We want our company to be fun. We want our company always to be Sagrado.
Now, I have had John talking so much that his cigar has gone out. So we have to give John the opportunity to light his cigar back up. Oh, look at that. Now, for anybody watching, it's been about 5 minutes. Again, the quality, it's been about, I feel like 5 minutes since he's puffed on that. And that son of a bitch is still going.
At the back end.
Look at that. That son of a bitch is still going. Yeah. No issues. And I am dropping stuff and burning holes in my lap and everything else right now. Still learning the in-show studio appearances. This is my first. But that says a lot right there about the quality of the cigar. It doesn't go out. It will if you let it sit for prolonged. Honestly, I thought it was out, and I was going to give him an opportunity to go. So kudos. That's absolutely fantastic. And for everybody watching, please keep in mind, just post a question in the comments, and the best question will receive a 5-pack, 4 of his core blends, 1 of each, and then 1 fajito. And then anything else that he feels like throwing in is above and beyond, no guarantees.
Yeah, maybe a surprise cigar, one of the experimentals for next year.
Oh, well, there you go. So a question might get you an experimental cigar that's not even available yet. So let's see here. Eddie. You know Eddie. Eddie was the manager over at Casbar. Said he actually had a mezcal with your cigar, and it paired very well.
Excellent.
We had some mezcal earlier before the show, and it paired very, very well as well.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you, Bruce. I'm doing well for a first timer. Well, Bruce, there's no technological difficulties here, as this is all my studio. And I pretty much got everything worked out now that I switched over. So what is the difference? Nico asked a question. What is the difference between a Maduro and a natural?
Well, the color. I mean, so when we're like, say, when I go out to the warehouses, like I go with Ariel, we go to, it's crazy. So we go from warehouses that are people's homes. It's crazy. It's like you go in their home and like they live upstairs, like downstairs, it's like all these, big, bundles wrapped in the sacks, of leaves. And we go to big places in the Zona Franca, which is like the free zone, where it's like the tax-free zone, where they've got, big warehouses. We've been to Miche's, we've been to his, big, warehouse and so on. And so these big ones, they've got the sorters, they've got the sorters out to these tables, and they're sorting the leaves. And so they'll have the San Andres that come in, they're sorting by color. So you've got the Maduro, you've got the natural, they're sorting by color, the Escuro, Escudo. So they're sorting them out. But it's essentially, same leaves, but they're different colors.
Now, we were talking about before the show, your Magnifico, in my opinion, is a very well balanced Maduro. Hold on, right? Yes.
Well, that's a Habano wrapper
San
with
Andreas.
San Andreas, and then it's got the Sumatra binder.
It's the Fundicical.
Fundacional.
Yeah. See, I am just the worst. I can barely speak English most of the days. So the Fundicical. Okay. Fundacional. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Is not what I would consider to be like a super punchy Maduro.
No.
It is a smooth, well-balanced Maduro. So talk really quickly on how you were able to make a quote-unquote dark wrapper cigar not be unbelievably blazing heavy.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's different things you can do. I mean, one obviously is Ligero. I mean, Ligero is, that's what most of the rollers are using, Ligero, which is the top leaves, on the tobacco plants. And those get the most sun, they're the first leaves and so on. And so those have the biggest, bite to them. And that's why, for example, on the Sumatra, we have the second Ligero leaf. And then you can do things. So a lot of people think that because it's dark, that you're going to have a strong cigar. That doesn't mean it's going to be a strong cigar. What's the bite? Because the wrapper, maybe that's like 15-20% of the flavor you're getting out of it is that wrapper. It's not a whole lot. It's misleading if you don't know. And I didn't know. I mean, when I really didn't get into it, I thought it was, oh wow, if it's a dark cigar, it's going to be strong. That's not the case. I've had some very mild dark cigars. What's the binder? What is the filler? What's in that filler? Is there any Ligero in it? Have you there's people I see using like Corojo. Like we have Corojo that we've used, and
99, right?
Yeah. And so there's different ones that you can use, and you get a whole different, effect on flavor and strength.
So when you came up with the Magnifico, which is my absolutely downright favorite of your line, it does incorporate the Maduro, but
that's binder.
It's the binder of it, right?
Yeah. It's a Sumatra binder, and it's more of a natural Habano wrapper.
Okay, I thought that one also had. Forgive me.
Yeah, the Charismatico is the Maduro.
Charismatic. That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
It's just too many people have too many cigars. One cigar is great, but the Maduro binders and the Charismatico. So what made you go with the Maduro binder? What did that add to the Charismatico over the wrapper?
So that was one of the earlier ones, and that's what Ariel came up with. I've got nothing on that one. That one was a blend from Ariel that he's come up with, and I said, you know what, that is perfect as it is. I don't want to change it. I want to wrap that thing as Sagrado. Let's go with that one. But that's one that Ariel has made, for a while, and that's what we decided. That's what we're going to run with the Maduro. I'm not going to say that's going to be our last Maduro because I like to experiment, and we'll do some other things. But I felt we had to have a foundation in the beginning. We had to have a Habano, we had to have a Maduro, we had to have a Connecticut. And I said, okay, let's get these three, and now let's start playing around. And I can start, as I was learning, I can start experiencing some other things. Sumatra was one of my first experimentals.
And this is absolutely fantastic. The Sumatra on this is amazing. The flavor is great. I would put this at a medium-bodied stick. And this would be one that you could have in the morning if you have a good breakfast, in the afternoon, or even at night to end the day. So Anthony, just because it says Anthony Pfeiffer, Tony says, John, do you expect to expand Sagrado to other products beyond cigars and coffee? Now, are you willing to broach that subject?
It's planned. It's planned. It's part of our business model. And so we're expecting hopefully around 2024 that we'll start moving into that space. My sister's in the wine industry, and if she is in the Paso Robles area in California, and I got introduced to some wine makers out there, some owners of some boutique wineries that are willing to private label for me and make blends for me, and so on. So we're looking at some wines. We're also looking at producing a rum out of the Dominican Republic. So there's some people we're talking to out there. And then we're also looking at potentially some bourbons. We've talked to a few people on that side. We haven't; those are not set as far as who exactly we're going to work with. It's just that's part of the model that in 2024 we'll start looking into that and adding that into it. We're also looking at a clothing line of all things too. So the clothing line would be probably 2025, which would be a fun lifestyle hats. And honestly, I love again, we're talking about like passion things. I don't know what your favorite era is of all time. My favorite era is like the 1930s, 1940s. I don't know why, but I've got this crazy.
It's the fashion era.
Oh my God, it's the passion. Just just the clothing for the women, the men, the hairstyles, like everything like that. It's just just the lifestyle. The lifestyle was more carefree, and people were like nice to each other. They spent time together. They had the family dinners together. Like everyone was like together. It weren't this time now with technology. The thing I don't like about technology is it consumes you. It consumes you and it sucks the life out of you. And so as much as I love technology, it's a yin yang. I hate technology at the same point. So there's a good and bad. I think technology has a long ways to go. I think technology at some point is going to merge in with humanity at that point where it's going to be useful and it's going to be beneficial to humans and not, consuming humans and take us away from humanity, which I think that's what technology's been doing. But I think technology at some point needs to bring us together and so on, which it's not yet doing that. And, and that's where I think it needs to go.
So since we're on this, and both you and I are both tech geeks, where do you think technology is going to go, and how do you think technology could bring us together?
It's a great question. I think if technology can, help us, to be able to spend more time together and so on, maybe. I wouldn't want technology to take over things we do that keep us active. I think technology has to come to a point of helping us to be more active, to be more together, and so on, be more human, and so on. I don't know. I know that virtual reality is a big mover right now. That's a mover. 3D printing is a big mover. I see 3D printing as potentially being useful. Virtual reality scares me because I see that as, again, it could bring people together from all around the world.
But it's
escaping, and so it's not real. And I think we need to have that touch. We need to have, be able to the smell and all the things like right here. We're smelling these cigars. We're like we've done this, virtually. I've been on a show and you do this all the time virtually, and it's great to see these people and so on and talk to these people, interact. That's great, but would it be better if everyone's like all together, like we're here, we're smoking, we're laughing, we're having a good time, just like the cigar lounges. And I think getting people together, the lounges and at home and campfires and fishing trips or whatever it may be. I think that's what technology has to do. It has to fit where it allows us to do more of that.
No, and I agree. And I'm looking very forward to the teleportation device. Hopefully that Tesla, my guess, will come out with first, to where we could just teleport in and have everything.
That would be useful.
Really, absolutely,
that'd be
absolutely.
Useful. Yeah.
But oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. When it comes to technology bringing people together, what is the downsides of technology as somebody that's worked in the industry for so long?
Social media. I think social media social media could be good, but I think that it's caused a huge problem with, like, I've got an 18-year-old son. It's consumed him for several of his teenage years and so on, and it's like the kids nowadays, if they don't have the social media now, going to the Z's and to the millennials and so on, that if I don't have the social media, oh my God, it's like you don't have oxygen, you're gonna suffocate. But again, I'm an ex-gener, born in '65, and so we didn't have that. We played 3 flies up. We played football. We were doing all that stuff. And when the street lights went on, and anyone that's my age, when the street lights went on, you had to go home. Kids don't know that nowadays because they're in the home the whole time on their Xboxes and so on. And it's okay. It's okay in moderation, but the problem is it's been made to be addictive and so on. And we need to be addictive as wanting to be together. And because humans were designed to be, communal, to be together. We, the loneliness, like look at through COVID, when you see all the people that were, by themselves and the suicides, my God, Summit County had a record rate of suicides. I'd cry. I'd read the stories about these kids that they felt like they had no life left, and they couldn't see their friends. They couldn't go to school, and they wanted to kill themselves. And adults, the same thing. There's a lot of depression in this world. Why is there depression? Why is there all this stuff going on? And and I think technology could be changed to where we can maybe reduce that or eliminate that.
One of the things. So I remember when FaceTime was new. Oh, and I got him. Oh, look at that, guys. He has been going and going. Like the cigars are the Energizer battery that don't stop. One of the things I remember when FaceTime came out was I walked into McDonald's and I saw a guy over in the corner with his back to the counter, so I was able to see what he was doing.
Yeah.
And it's, in my opinion, the purest form of technology bringing people together at such a virgin stage in the technology when FaceTime came out. And I don't know if he was deaf or his children were deaf or his child, but he was signing to his kid via FaceTime.
Yes.
That to me is, I think we have perverted what technology is meant to be.
Yes.
Versus what it originally came out to be.
I agree. I travel, I travel a lot, almost weekly, and when my son was, younger and so on, being able to, do the FaceTime, so to say, do the, the video, talks like that. My God, to be able to go to bed at nighttime, to be able to see my son. I mean, that's where technology is great, right?
Absolutely.
But when you're using that for your normal mode, then to me it's perverting it, and you're losing out on the experience, the human experience.
So essentially, what cigars do, to kind of tie this back to cigars force people to actually be on an equal playing field. When I say force, what I mean with that is, I have been at Smoking Cave and Casbar where people's bank accounts are 100x bigger than mine, but we're smoking the exact same cigar. So to kind of bring it full circle, how do cigars play a part in kind of stopping that speed of technology?
Well, I mean, to the point is, we talk about equality and so on, because I go into places and I see people of different genders, different colors, and different income levels and so on, and everyone's talking, and everyone's having a good time and so on. And that's been my experience with the cigars. What I experienced in the wine industry is people being snobs, but also if you really got into the wine industry and you talk to the winemakers, that's not the intent. I would find like that the people who would want to be, they're like trying to get like their sommelier class 2s and class 3s, and they're young, and so they think that you're supposed to be kind of snobbish. That's not at all, because I've met like these older winemakers from like gosh in the 90s, the 80s, and so on, and they'd say wine is just meant to be drunk. It's meant to be drunk, and it's supposed to be enjoyed. And you're it's not something to be worshipped. And the problem is when people take a thing and they start making it their god and worshiping it, like these cigars, it shouldn't be. Like when I see cigars, I see these $500 special cigars like that. That's not really, to me, what this is all about. This is about right now what we're doing.
Absolutely. And to Bruce's point, something that a mentor of mine has always said, it's not about the cigar, it's the experience. And to quote Abe, the guy down the street sells the exact same cigar I do. Mm-hmm. What I provide different is the experience with that cigar.
Yeah.
And that is kind of the beauty of cigars in general, is nobody's trying. Now, you do have the only Cubans, you do have the label smokers, but I would say the vast majority of smokers just want to have a good experience with the time, because time is money, time is valuable, and they cherish that time. So when you make a cigar, how much of that goes into play of going, I am much more for the experience than the flashiness?
Yeah, no, it does. And, we talked about quality, and I talked about Beatrice, give her another shout out, over at the factory. She's overseeing the quality. I see the quality control that goes on. I see Ariel, as he's, it's great having a master cigar roll that's over everything, that he's got a manager, but he's able to go by and he sees someone that maybe isn't necessarily putting the cap on exactly right. He comes over there and he will show him, here's how to cut it and so on. And, he's always like instructing and improving. And so making this quality cigar, but making it affordable, for us, we want to make it, again, as affordable as we can, but you have to make a profit, but, we don't want to gouge people. We want to make sure that people can all afford our product and then be able to enjoy it. But we want to produce a cigar where they say, I'm having a great time. And just people talk about, wow, the quality is great. And, and no one feels, remorse. Like, I just spent $50 on this Cuban, and it was okay, and at the end of the day, it's like, you're in the back of your mind, you're thinking, oh my God, I spent $50 on this cigar, instead of thinking, my God, I just spent an hour with my best friend.
Correct. And that goes to the point of, you get some very expensive either drinks, libations, or cigars, and it always comes back to, did the person like the cigar or the drink because of the value, or did they really, really, truly like it? So when you're making a cigar and you're looking at price point, how much of the experience comes into the price point? Meaning,
what?
Meaning, if it's a $10 cigar, you want somebody to have a great experience as of great, versus a 15 or the Anniversario,
yes.
Anniversario that may be higher price than 15.
Absolutely. I mean, I want a person to look at the cigar. They look at the wrapper, it's beautiful. They look at the bands. They say, wow, that's like one of the nicest bands I've seen. The funny thing was, and I'll answer this question. I had an experience where I went to into Sean and Nico's store, the Smoking Cave, and I was newer coming in there, and I met one of the workers, and I was looking for Nico, and I was talking to the guy behind the counter. I said, hey, I'm with John with Sagrado Cigars. And he looked at me like, okay, whatever. Didn't know who I was, and that's fine, because he shouldn't know me really. But I pulled a cigar out, and it's not that. I said, do you recognize this label? And he said, oh my God, that's yes. He said, I was looking all over for it. I was looking over where to find it online and so like that. I've been looking all over for it. He goes, that's you. I said, that's me. That's Sagrado. But it was recognizable. But the thing was, the ring, that we spent a lot of time on developing this branding image. We would spend a lot of time on the quality of the cigar, and so all that it leads into where the last thing you're thinking about is what you spent on it at this point. Now you're thinking about, this is enhancing, it's accentuating the experience with another person. It's not taken away. It's not distracting.
Correct.
Because I don't want, like, I was sitting here, I was talking the whole time about the cigar. I want us to get to know each other. That's what we did the night we met. We talked about stuff
like 6 hours.
We enjoyed the cigars, and we'd spend maybe a minute talking about the cigar.
Yeah.
But then we talked about other stuff. And to me, a good cigar, it lends itself to adding value to people, not distracting and taking away, like social media or Xbox or whatnot.
So the cigars shouldn't be the VIP in the room.
No.
It should be the accentuation point.
Yes.
Or the accentuation piece, or I should say, for better analogy, the cherry on top of the entire interaction and discussion.
It should add just like a good bourbon, a good wine. Like, you should have your mom, like, you're sitting there, you're tasting like, wow, you're just enjoying the moment. And then you start relaxing, you get this relaxation comes over you, because you're just like this euphoric feeling you got. And it's like, you're just relaxed, and you're just talking, and you just open up, and that's, to me, it's like, that's the experience.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. One of my my first experiences with Nico, and yes, I'm going to tell this story, was during COVID, and he probably shouldn't have had people smoking in the lounge at that time, but I had asked him to, and we sat and I smoked a cigar for an hour and a half, and during that hour and a half, we, honest to God, became good friends to the point where Now we call each other, we talk to each other, we bounce things off of each other. And it's one of those things that I'm a firm believer, forgive my shininess of my bald head, but I am a firm believer that there's a reason why 50s, 60s, 70s world leaders smoke cigars in the room. Now everything's televised, everything is for an image, for a picture. And, Winston Churchill was one of those that would always offer cigars to everybody in the room because it allowed people, and in my own experience with sales, when the customer lit up a cigarette, I knew we were talking about something they were happy about or comfortable.
Yeah.
And so for me, cigars allow people to kind of back up, take a breath, slow down, and really live in that moment they're in.
It's funny because I was laughing. I was thinking right now, one of my class I had as an undergrad was psychology, and we were studying Freud. And so, and I love the story with Freud. And probably a lot of people know this story. But it was something, the first time I'd ever heard it. It was hilarious. I laughed for quite a while. And, because everything with Freud had to do with sexuality. Everything was related to, phallic or whatever. Everything is related, had to be, that. And so I love the story where Freud was interviewed and said, so, Dr. Freud, so with a cigar that we notice you like to smoke a cigar. So what does that represent to you? and so Freud, takes a puff, and he says, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
That's very true.
And it's just funny, but that's the truth. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, and it's not to be worshipped or necessarily associated with something else, but it's part of just your existence,
I do feel like kind of how you touched about earlier, people worship it. It's people put too much emphasis on the cigar as making the quality time versus realizing that the cigar just forced you to slow down to make the quality time.
Absolutely. And whether it's my cigar or someone else's cigar, I don't really care. I mean, the whole thing is, for me, the whole mission is within this industry is that as industry, what we do is we do Sagrado, which is just bring people together. I think, other people that are on here that, smoke cigars or make cigars and so on, they agree that really, the end goal is really to, give people a good experience.
Absolutely. And with the last 10 minutes here, I've got a few lightning round questions. And then so everybody ask a question right now, whether the question gets addressed or not, ask a question right now for a chance to win the 4 core blends plus a fajito and anything additional that John would like to throw into that as well will be out of the gracious of his heart. Go ahead and
try this one out.
Yeah, go ahead. Absolutely. Go ahead and kill it. He is drinking the Axe and Oak bourbon. You better dump the rest of that.
I killed it.
All right, good. There, good man there. Good man. And he is also a fan of the Axe and Oak.
Absolutely.
I shared with him quite a bit. So maybe we teamed them up with doing something. Who knows?
That'd be great.
So really quick, just very quickly, Bruce asked a question here. What is your favorite charity? And then I'll get to a few lightning round questions, and then we'll have you pick the winner.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, one charity that I really like up in Fort Collins area is called Realities for Children. And again, I mentioned, kids are, something for me. It's I grew up, I had a little bit of a rough childhood growing up, and I didn't have much of a childhood just because of what I had to go through, and so I didn't. And so it's my heart is for kids that have it rough, that have a tough time, and on the Realities, they help children that are abused, and and they help kids to like say they help with the kids that go in the foster homes, and it's amazing the need. I can't believe up in Lerner County how many kids are abused and how many kids are in the foster home, and so on, and the stories. And so I'm a Harley rider. I've got a Harley. I raise money on the Realities rides, the poker rides, and so on. And oh my God, it's funny. I this one story I'll never forget. I'm at this ride, and and we're at our destination, and they have band playing, and then we're doing raising money, and then they get up, they read this letter of this girl that they had helped, and I get goosebumps when I think about it, but it didn't end in a happy story, and it ended up being where she committed suicide, and I just sat there, just tears just pouring off my face, and you see all these big bikers just like wiping their eyes, and it's like all of us were just like in tears, like and it just, for me, it's funny, as I've gotten older, I've definitely gotten more emotional. I was definitely more emotional than I was younger. When I was younger, I was closed in,
Sure.
and I didn't want to show my emotions, and now I'm like I cry when I things like that. It really moves me, and so really, that moves me. Like when I've seen the Make-A-Wish Foundation, I see these kids that they've got maybe 6 months to live or a year to live or something like that. They have cancer, and it just, I bawl when I see that. So those are a couple of charities that are big to me. So there's many good charities, like the Wounded Warrior. That's a big one for me too, because I'm a veteran. And helping out fellow vets and so on. But it's really charities that do the most to help people that are in the biggest need.
Absolutely.
And I so there's so many, but Realities is one that I've been more active in promoting and supporting.
Absolutely. Now, for those of you that do not have veterans in the family, as John is a retired Marine, there's no such thing as an ex-Marine.
I think I finally died.
Oh,
I
finally got it.
I got to my last third. Oh, thanks.
So, while John lights his cigar, I do want to address a few things. Nico says you should make a cigar called the Mentor. So we'll let that breathe a little bit. And I think that would be a fun cigar.
I like that. Thank you, Nico.
And then what is the meaning behind Sagrado?
Yeah. So Sagrado would be sacred. It directly translates to sacred. Oftentimes, if you Google it, you'll see associated with the Sacred Mary and so on. And so, the Virgin Mary, the Sagrado, that's, within the Catholicism and so on. That's one interpretation you'll see of it. But what I wanted was, I want something that I could, from I'm more of a Latin America, Hispanic type of a theme within our product, because that's where we're making it from. And as you can see here in my band, I always wear Dominican Republic, because that's honestly that's where I cut my teeth in the learning and so on. And I always want to give respect to the people of the Dominican Republic, and one of my goals also is to be able to help as many of the people there as I can, as well as here in our country. But yeah, I just yeah.
No, like I said, there's a fantastic meaning behind the brand. It's a charity brand. Now, I will rely on you for this, because I am not a motorcycle rider. Will you ever sell scaled down tins for Harley riders? I don't know what that means.
Possibly, yeah, and possibly, as long as we can do, a quality hand rolled, yeah. I mean, honestly, Faith, though, we've actually. It's the funny thing is, I was looking at.
Oh, you meant the tins. Okay, I thought it was a bike part for a second. I apologize. My own stupidity.
But yeah, I mean, that's a possibility we could do.
With the fajitos, it would be easy to do, easier to do. So real quick, few lightning round questions here. Just quick answers. What is your favorite cut currently?
Well, it's funny, because I've been doing a straight cut forever, and I just moved in. I just got this new V cut, and I tell you, this thing's amazing.
This Zafi
is amazing. And I was down in Cancun, and that's my first experience, because I bought it and tried it. This guy I met down there, Charles, who I mentioned earlier, he said he couldn't stand the V cuts, that they collapsed, that that they started coming together, you start losing your draw. And I said, look, this is all I got. This is what I brought with me, because he didn't have a cutter. He said, I'll try it. So he tried it. The next morning he came over, he'd V-cut all of them. He smoked 3 cigars. And so he said, John, where did you get that V cut? I said, I thought you hated V cuts. It's amazing.
It really is an amazing V cutter, in my opinion, the best V cutter on the market. Not as well known, the Zyphy brand you can get on Amazon. It is my preferred choice for V cuts, and I've tried most of all of them that can be tried outside of the outrageously expensive ones. But I would put this $35 V cutter up against a Calibri, what's some of the other, pretty much any of the name brand ones. It's fantastic. So, what is your favorite size?
I like. It's funny because it depends. I mean, Toro was like Toros, and I like Toros, but I don't know. I don't always have time for a Toro. If I got time, Toro's great because I can do a Toro in an hour. Hour smoke on a Toro at least. If I've got time, I do that. I love these Faithos, these 38 by 6s, because I can do these in 30 minutes. Mm-hmm. It depends on how much time I've got. If it's going to be an evening, I mean, shoot. I mean, at 56 by 6.5, that one's great because I can get a couple hours out of that. It just really depends on my mood. That's kind of like how wine and bourbon is like. It's very mood driven.
Sure.
It's what's your favorite during certain moments.
Absolutely. But what's your favorite pairing? Meaning, are you more of a coffee cigar or liquor cigar?
More liquor. I do more liquor. I mean, with the coffee, that's been newer for me with pairings on the coffee because now I'm doing the coffee, and so I'm just learning as to what I like. That Faith is actually going well with it too on the coffee. But I'd say bourbons. I love single malts. I mean, a nice smoky single malt. I love. My favorite distillery is Bruichladdich, and Bruichladdich is also from Islay, and they have one called Octomore. Gosh darn, it got expensive. Ever since COVID, I was buying Bruichladdich, and I got exposed to it. I got a great story on Bruichladdich, by the way.
Ahead.
So this guy, his name is James Brown. Okay, so I'm in Port Charlotte. I'm staying at this. It's a pub and a small boutique hotel, over in Islay, and I'm sitting there by myself. And this older gentleman, he's got coveralls on. He looks like just like a farmer, or something like that. Cool looking guy, older guy. And he's talking to the barkeep, and nice guy. And so they said, "Hey, come join us." So they saw me. I was on the phone talking to a friend in the States, and so I said, "I got to go." So I walked over there. I just finished my supper, and I'm talking to him, and nicest guy in the world. I don't know who the hell this guy is, and so we're talking, and his name is James Brown. I never looked at him. I said, "You don't look like James Brown." And so we laughed, and so I'd been on different tours around the island, and I met at Lagavulin. There's a Lagavulin, and the wine master down there, he's a little guy, and he's like the fourth generation, master, the blends and so on. And his name's Shorty. Imagine that, little guy named Shorty. So Shorty, he's a great guy, and so we're talking, and I was telling him my experience, and I have to go back. I'm doing a Quentin Tortino here, going back and forth. So I said, I met this guy named James Brown. He's like, "Oh, James Brown." He goes, I went to school with him. We were kids and stuff like that. So they're both older guys, it's a small world. So James Brown, he's telling me, "Oh," I said, "Well, what do you do?" He said, "Oh, I got this, farm, and I got my water that I sent over to Bruichladdich. They use my water to make their whiskey. They make their gin, which Botanicals 22. Oh my God, I got exposed to Scottish gin. It's like amazing. Like, Hendrix is like really good, but this Botanicals, it was amazing. I never had gin like this before in my life. I was used to the very high juniper, type of whiskey, and this was like very smooth. And so anyways, he said, "I provide the water." I said, "Really?" I said, "Is it like stressful?" He goes, "Oh yeah, sometimes they're getting water the nighttime. I have to go make sure that they're getting the water." And so they were laughing and so on. The barkeeper, he was a retired cop from he's a Bobby from London, and so we're talking. I had a challenge coin. So I had a challenge coin from the technology company I worked for. I handed over to him. I gave one to James Brown. They were so grateful. I gave him this challenge coin. And so James, he's like, try this whiskey right here. It was this black bottle. I'm looking at this black bottle, I'm like, oh, okay. He pours it for me. I drink it. And that's what these guys are drinking. Okay. It's called Octomore. I'm thinking, okay, great. And so I had Octomore for the first time. This is probably about 3-4 years ago. So we're drinking, and we had several shots. We were just getting plastered as time went on. And so the barkeeper saying, yeah, you go to his house, you trip over all the boxes. He has boxes all over his house. And I didn't know who the hell this guy is. Okay. So anyways, I remember just having a great time with James Brown and meeting this guy, go to my room. And I just had a great time, not knowing still when I left who this guy was. I've had many experiences like this, meeting people like that, not knowing. I go back to the States. I'm looking at Whiskey Magazine. It's the Marvin Shanken, Whiskey Magazine. I'm reading it, and this story about James Brown, and it talks about James Brown. This guy here, he provides the peat from his farm, the water, and the name of his plantation, his farm. Guess what it's called? Octomore. I had no idea. And so this guy, and he was the most humble guy. It's like we talk about humility, we talk about empathy. He had all these skills, and this guy doesn't have a big college education or anything. The guy's just a normal guy, and he was just a great guy, and the best guy in the world. And my God, this guy was very important. And that whiskey is my favorite whiskey. And at that time, it was probably about $125 a bottle I was buying. You're lucky to find out for $450 to $600. It's ridiculous. And
wow,
it's phenomenal whiskey.
Well, speaking a little bit about wine, we have a question here from Tom, and it says recommendations. Now, you are a wine guy, so this will be the last question of the night, everybody. But do you have recommendations for dessert wines with cigars? Do they work together?
They can. I mean, if we're talking about desserts, fortified, honestly, fortified is the way to go, which would be ports. I mean, I love port, and I've had some good ports. And you don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to buy a $100, $200 bottle. You can buy a good port for $35, $40. But ports go fantastic with cigars, especially Maduros. Oh my God, yeah. But as far as dessert wines, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to depend on the blend of what you've got. You want, when you're pairing, obviously you have to complement. I've had some good ice wines out of Canada. Berger has made some really good ice wines throughout of Kelowna, Canada. They make some decent ones. There's some trying to think. There's some oh gee whiz, trying to think. There's a couple. There's a couple of those they'll come to me, but the sweeter after dinner, I'm trying to think. There's a little tiny bottle that I used to buy. That one was expensive, but I'd say one that is a little more with the honey, flavor and so on. A little bit the peach. We start to get the peach, the honey. Those can go really good with, like say Maduros, for sure. Connecticut's maybe not so much. I find more the Maduros with these as well.
When I'm drinking wine personally, I find more of the red wines have a tendency to go better.
Oh yeah, Cabernet Sauvignon, yeah, big one. Malbecs go great.
Yep. Then the
lighter.
I would say a Sauvignon Blanc is about where I would stop sweetness level. Pinot Grigios, some of those can go well, yeah. But anything really sweeter than a Pinot for myself is not what I would normally drink, and I would not normally pair that with a cigar. But I will second his port. It's a heavier wine, it's a meatier wine, and it would definitely go a lot better with a cigar than most.
I've had some really good Pinot Noirs out of Santa Barbara region too, and Pinot Noirs can be a bit peppery, and so again that can complement even like the Habanos and so on, the more mild cigars that the Pinot Noirs go well.
Absolutely. So in closing for tonight, I do have to ask, because everybody knows I'm a Lancero whore, is a Lancero in the future for Sagrado?
Possibly.
Hey!
I do like Lanceros too.
Awesome. That makes me happy very much.
I did have Ariel make me a couple hundred of those, and I'll have to share some.
Absolutely. No, I'm a firm believer that Lanceros are an amazing cigar. It's definitely one of my one of my go-to sizes. So thank you, John, for being my first in studio guest. Like this has been totally different to not have to work out the technology for both parties to be involved. So it's been absolutely fantastic having you in. Thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for being such a great friend.
Thank you.
And brother of the leaf for myself. And we've had a great friendship and we have a great partnership. Definitely check out Sagrado Cigars, Sagrado Cigars.com. The e-commerce site will be up soon. John, this is the time of the show where you can choose anybody that made a comment to give away a 5-pack to.
Let's see here.
So we have, well, let's see. So we have Tony, Bruce, Curtis. Let's see. We have Cody. We have Eric. As we get down, we have Emma, we have Tom. So who would you like to give a cigar to?
Let's see.
You can scroll up and down, just use 2 fingers.
Yeah.
So if we scroll back up, we can see a little bit more. All right, this is the pick of the night.
I like, let's see here what I see. What was about cigars? About, let's see here. Is it down a little lower? Oh, it's a little lower down. Where'd John get the cool hat? Amazon? Yeah.
Everybody tuning in, we are picking out the best comment of the night to see who wins the 4
Keep going down.
main cigars with 1 Faito.
There's a lot of good comments on here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, some good comments from Patrick here. Patrick had some good comments.
Your call, bud.
Yeah, let's light up Patrick Love here.
All right, Patrick Love wins the 5-pack giveaway. Patrick, reach out to John to get that. And again, thank you so much, John, for supporting the show, for supporting me the way I have supported you. I truly appreciate the friendship, and thank you so much. Always, always, always a pleasure. And thank you so much for being my first in-guest studio. And
honor. Yeah.
For those of you that know our common tagline out, smoke what you like, smoke as often as you can, and have an absolutely great rest of your week. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for watching.
Pleasure.
Take care.